So we're talking a little bit about the events and how they can change. You're saying something Magnus for Magnuson had talked to you about. What were you kind of touching on?
Well, his point was and his comment I think was it was easy to win World's Strongest Man one time. It's much more difficult to come back and win it again and again and again. That's because all the events are different from year to year. So if you're really a true champion, you can win in and the location changes too. So that you have to go to a different location, travel there, deal with different events, different circumstances, and win. And for some reason, that really resonated with me. So I was like, even after I won my first World's Strongest Man, I was like, you know what? Okay, that's good, but I don't want to be kind of a one-time wonder, if you will. I want to prove that I can do this and come back again and win it again, and get to into that conversation of the best that ever do it. And that was really my goal, and I'm proud of being able to do that. And I love the challenge. Like I said, it's the sport's evolved, and it does go in waves, and that's probably an entirely different conversation.
Well, you even guys got to alter your technique too, huh? Because obviously, if you're going with a 450-pound farmer's walk in each hand for 20 feet, it's going to be a lot different than 260 pounds for 200 feet, or where they did in 2004.
Completely, yeah, completely. I mean, that's an interesting. It's an interesting conversation. How should the events go? Should we be doing loading medleys with relatively lightweight, or should that be really heavy where everybody can't finish? And in my mind, I've always kind of been a rule of there's like a third, right? So if the third of the guys excel and do really well, let's just say you have 10 guys and 3 guys excel and do really well, 3 guys are able to do it but don't do as good, and then 3 guys either can't do it, fail, or are barely able to do it. I think at that point you kind of hit the right weight for that contest, if everybody's able to do it way too easy, the weights are probably too light, and it just becomes a track meet at that point. And at the end of the day, if you do something like that, are you truly finding the strongest man? That's, I think, the debate in the sport of strongman, and especially the last couple of years, there's been a big shift in the sport from where you had these, the Arnold was ridiculously heavy, like unbelievable weights, which I actually liked. I did like that because I was like, you know what? If you see somebody walk up and they can't even pick something up, and the next guy can pick it up and move with it, who's stronger? Sure. You have a clear cut, black and white. This guy has proved now that he's way stronger. So I think there's a fine line with the sport because all the events, you got to have a good mix of testing everything. So you should test explosive strength and your endurance to some extent. You can find the right events, and I think that's the most challenging part for promoters and for World's Strongest Man and Arnold and everything, is to try to find events that test all of that, and you really do at the end of the contest. You can say whoever won this contest is the strongest man without a doubt. Nobody's going to. It's tough. I know that they've got a hard job on their hands to find the right events, and it's very easy for either the athletes or spectators or whoever to come back and say, well, you should have picked different events or you should have done different weights. It's easy to be kind of that person on the sidelines saying that. And, it's always been kind of that debate. But there's enough contests that have happened that I think that now we know, if the weights are a little bit too light or if it maybe can be a little bit too much. And that probably will be a debate in strongman for a long time. It really will.
And what about, interesting question here would be a little bit off subject. We touched on basketball earlier.
Yep.
So do you think that kind of gave you a framework to be able to actually move being so big because you have that base in kind of like basketball that rather than somebody just got as big as you that never played like a sport where you're moving? Do you think that was pretty crucial?
I think it was very important. I really do. Playing basketball, you have to be athletic, especially if you're going to play it beyond high school. You have to be athletic. You have to be able to jump. You have to be able to move and be athletic. Otherwise, you're just not going to be successful. And so I think for me, that very much helped me growing up because I was a big kid. I've always been a very big kid. And if I didn't get into sports, and I mean, I played all sports. I just really loved basketball. That was really my first love. So, I wanted to do everything I could to get better at basketball. And so I think that having that base, especially playing in high school and then playing in college, really helped me getting into strongman because I already had that athletic foundation. And then I just added more strength with it. And so it was a lot of the events where, I had to move with stuff or do a medley or, anything that involved that type of athletic ability. I already had that foundation to build off of.
Did you do anything else like football or anything before when you were younger?
So I played football, I think 7th and 8th grade, and then before that a little bit. And actually, ironically enough, I love football. I really did love football. But my hometown, it was a smaller town that I grew up in. Mm-hmm. The town focused on the sport of basketball, the basketball team. And, the football team, at least when I went to school there, the football team won 4 games in 4 years that I went to high school there. So it was not good, and a lot of the guys didn't take it very seriously. And for me, that didn't work. It was hard for me because I was so competitive that I wanted to win. And if I, especially playing a team sport, if the guys I was playing with, if they weren't going to put it in like I was going to put it in, that would have driven me nuts. And so I had, obviously, the football coaches every year wanted me to play, of course. I mean, why would they not? I understand that. But it was like I was going in with basketball. I would go in and practice before school. I would practice after school. I would do conditioning on my own. I would do training on my own. I mean, I wanted to be the best that I possibly could be. And I just couldn't accept losing, And so it was just one of those things where, again, my uncle was a basketball coach as well, which kind of probably helped me as well. He was able to teach me some things and work with me a little bit. And then, I just have been ultra competitive. I did things that other kids would not do. I mean, in 7th grade, even I asked to be the manager of the freshman basketball team, and they practiced at like 5:30 in the morning before school. And I was in 7th grade, and I would get up at that time, go practice with them, go to school, and then practice with my own team after school. I mean, I've always had that drive within me to be that good. And so, the whole football thing, looking back, who knows what could have happened. But at the same time, I guess the way that I've looked at it is I feel like in a way, maybe I was set on this path to do what I do, because if I would have played football when I was younger, and let's just say I would really tore my knee up or something like that, my whole career path could have been changed, I mean, I could have done well with that. Who knows what level I could have made it to with playing football. It's hard to say. But at the same time, I feel like looking back, kind of all of these things happened for a reason for me. And now, I mean, I couldn't be happier. I mean, I've been able to, obviously play basketball, get my college paid for completely. And then, moving on from there, I've had an amazing career in strongman and been able to travel the world and not only compete, but also make a career out of it as well. So I'm very thankful for all of those things. And, I'm really not one of those guys that looks back and says, what if this, what if that? I try to make the most of every opportunity that I've been given. And I've had a great time, man. It's one of those things if I would, let's just say I would have made it to the NFL, how long do typically linemen in the NFL, their careers don't last very long? It's rough, a lot of injuries.
You'd probably be retired by now, yeah.
Yes, most likely I would be, for sure, yeah.
What about, I don't know the whole background, but I know you hooked up with Joe Ken at some point because you were going to get into strength conditioning coaching. Was that when he's at Arizona State or what?
It was, yeah, Arizona State. So I got out of school. I graduated from college in 2004.
Okay.
And then they kind of posted something up to have an intern, or they were trying to get some interns to come in, as most high level college programs do. And so I did my little like video submission to send in, and got it. Like I got the position, and Joe, he actually was joking about it because apparently when I filmed the of course the cameras were not what they are today. Apparently my head wasn't in the video when I sent it to him, and so he gave me the nickname Gigantor initially, and so I literally, people didn't even know my name down there. It was just like, oh, Gigantor's whatever. And so I worked as an intern, and then he offered me a graduate assistant position, which ended up unfortunately not working out for a number of different reasons. But I loved strength and conditioning, loved it. And so, at that time, I have to admit, probably around there, I wasn't quite ready to be a coach and not an athlete anymore. I did love it. I always have loved it. And I came back, worked with like younger kids, high school age and some college age kids. And it's something I love doing, because I love helping. I mean, I really felt for me to be successful with the sport of basketball, if I wouldn't have started lifting weights, I absolutely wouldn't have made it. I needed to start lifting weights to become stronger and more athletic. And that, I think, is truly what opened the door for me to play in college. And then obviously has allowed me to continue my career in strongman and everything else. But I love it. And I am very, very thankful that I was able to get under Joe Ken there, because he taught me my boundaries, and he taught me the importance of lifting with correct form. And we used to go deadlift in his garage in Arizona. It was like, 115 degrees outside. Yeah. And I remember I was so mad at him all the time, because we would go to deadlift, and as soon as my form would break down, he would tell me that I had to stop. And he essentially told me back then, he said, Brian, look, well, Gigantor, he told me Brian. But he said, look, here's your choices. He's like, I can let you keep going and use this bad form, and you'll have a short career, probably a back injury, and you will never lift the kind of weight that you want to. Or I can make you do it with good form now, and you build that solid foundation, and you're going to have a long career, and you're going to do a lot of great things. If I wouldn't have, I don't know what would have happened, but if I wouldn't have had, at that point in time, I was this, you're a young guy, and it's like, hey, I can lift the weight.
Yeah.
Maybe is the form super important? If I can let my form break down and lift more weight, I'm going to do that. And so for him to do that for me at that time, and that's just one example. I mean, he taught me a lot of other things as well. But it was like, I'm so thankful that he did that, because if he wouldn't have done that for me, I probably would have been in that boat. And I feel like after he taught me that, I hope that a lot of the seminars and different guys that I've been able to work with now, I kind of lay that same foundation. And I say, look, if you can't do this with good form, we're not going to do it. And I kind of give them this same breakdown. It's like, well, do you want to do this for a couple of years, or do you want to be doing it when you're 30 and 40 and past that age even? And I don't think that the guys, especially when they're younger, I don't think they think about that importance of, well, my body's not going to last forever if I do this with bad form, And so I was very thankful, and I still talk to Joe now. I mean, he's a great guy, and he's done some really big things in the industry, and he's a unique guy. I mean, he put me through the ringer there. I would do everything in the internship. I mean, he had a van. I remember I had to go wash his van and vacuum it out, and I had to do some things that were not strength and conditioning related. But again, I appreciated it, and honestly, probably even nowadays, he probably couldn't get away with that kind of stuff, but I'm thankful for it, because I had to work hard to get to where I was and to open the doors that I did.
You got some good agility stuff from him too?
I did, yeah. I reached out to him, and he's helped me with that a lot, with that side of the programming, with some different jump work and agility stuff to try to improve that. And again, it's something that with this sport, the way that it's gone, at least the last couple of years, we'll see what happens at World's Strongest Man this year, but they've definitely gone to more speed, a little bit lighter events and that type of thing. And so as I've gotten older, because the sport was going in a heavy direction, I didn't worry about it as much because it was like, well, I can pick this heavy weight up and move it. And now, in order to keep up, to be fair, to keep up with some of the younger guys that maybe, not saying they're not strong, but maybe they're not as strong,
Yeah.
but they're fast when they need to move. And so for me, I've got to find that balance of, again, my finding the correct body weight for me and working on those things, because I've always had that in my back pocket. It's just I haven't worked on it enough.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. And so, it's something where even with that, I mean, I was sending him some videos of some of the jumps that I was doing, and he was like telling me, how much are you weighing and what are you doing for jumping? And, I don't necessarily go into that. I didn't know what was, he was like, man, some of the stuff you're doing is crazy at your body weight. So I know that I can respond. And again, it's whether it's that natural athletic base or whatever it is. I know that if I work on it, I can get better at it. And so that's kind of been my mindset is again, that's a different challenge for me too.
Well, with the jumps too, you're really focusing on doing them correctly for what you need rather than, because I don't know, you've seen people, I'm sure, jump on a 50-inch box and they're landing, their butt on their ankles. So it becomes more of a hip mobility thing than actually trying to, work explosive power.
100%. Yeah. And that's, again, it's trying to have a practical application to the competition. And so, I'm excited to see it. I mean, World's Strongest Man getting bumped back this year. At first, of course, I was down and kind of upset. But I'll be honest, right now, I'm feeling like I have a great opportunity to improve myself and to be even better maybe than I ever could have been if we would have done the contest in May, So,
and I think we're setting a good example for people, because not everybody has a home weight room, but doesn't mean they can't break their all-time record in push-ups or something. I mean, there's, who Vince Anello is? He's the old school powerlifter. He had the world record in the deadlift like in 72. He's probably 75 years old now, and he just set a lifetime PR, he told me, in push-ups like 3 days ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, there's stuff people can do even if they don't have access to weights. It's, just kind of, it's more of a mindset thing of take advantage of what you have. So right now it's pushed back. You can focus on your bench press.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Somebody commented on one of my posts maybe last week. I can't remember when it was, but he made a comment about going out to shovel some snow and to train like that. And I commented back, and I mean, people see where I'm at now. But when I first started training on my own, I was training out of my parents' garage it wasn't insulated, it wasn't heated. To train the strongman events, I trained by myself, and I would have to go out and scoop the driveway and then throw down some of that salt so I didn't slip on the ground. And it was just, I wanted it. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to open those doors, and I had a lot of passion. I mean, the dumbbells and barbells were, I remember I had a little space heater in that space, and my hands would get so cold that I would have to, between sets, I would have to go over and put my hands in front of a space heater so they would defrost enough that I could go back and do my next set. And, what I have or where I'm at now did not start like that. I was never given a golden spoon or whatever. I had to open those doors, and, a lot of the stuff I worked with back then was very raw. I mean, most of my first strongman equipment, a guy welded out of his garage for me because I couldn't afford to buy the right equipment, so I've been able to scale, but I think a lot of times people look at it and say, well, yeah, Brian, you're really fortunate to have this home gym and all this stuff, but I didn't start there, and also you don't have to have it to get stronger.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't even touch on that, because that doesn't matter. It's doing the best with what you have in the current situation. So, I mean, if you're doing nothing, you would be doing nothing with the state-of-the-art gym at your house. If you all of a sudden you're up to 2,000 push-ups a day or something, and then yeah, if you keep working, you get access to that, you will take advantage. But I think it's like a mindset thing. You're either doing the best with what you have or you're not.
100%. It doesn't always have to be pretty. Just put that work in, and you can push yourself in different ways. I mean, I could give, I'm sure as you can, example after example. I mean, even when I've gone on camping trips, I'll pack like a a keg that's filled with some sand or water or sandbags or something, so I can train when I'm camping. I mean, or bands or whatever. Like, I'll do something to make it happen. I will absolutely do something to make it happen. And I think that right now, more than ever, if people don't have access to that perfect gym or whatever, it doesn't mean that you stop doing what you're doing, and you make the best of what you have. And especially if it's important to you, then make it a priority and find a way to make it happen.
So, majority of people probably watching this are going to be powerlifters, and that's what I'm telling them specifically to powerlifters. This is your chance to kind of heal up and increase your work capacity, because if your elbows are killing you from bench pressing heavy for the last 20 years, doing a bunch of push-ups or pull-ups or things like that, going to get a little healing, and then you're kind of potentiating the next phase of training, like we're talking about right here with you, is this off-season phase is like, yeah, you're in good condition relative to a strength athlete, particularly for your size, but you're not in bench press specific shape. And that's this next block of training will get you there, so you'll be even better off in the end. So it's the same type of idea, just on using a different set of equipment, which is yourself.
100%. Yeah, I mean, you can find the positive, and you can make something good out of it. With whatever you got. I mean, it like you said, maybe it's setting yourself up, or like you said, if you've been dealing with some kind of nagging injury you've been pushing through, or whatever, try to work on that so that you're back to 100%. Or, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can approach a situation like this. And again, it's for me at least, the way that I've always got through any tough situation is just to try to find the positive out of it. I mean, I've gone through a lot in my career, and there's been times where it hasn't been easy, and I've been dealing with things that seemed, at the time at least, somewhat insurmountable, and I didn't know how it was going to work out. I mean, it always hasn't been easy, but if you approach it with that type of mindset and you say, okay, I'm going to find something small positive to work on here and to take a step forward instead of taking steps backwards, that's only going to get you further forward, and it's it can be something tough, right? Like, it's easy, and I think that a lot of people will say that, well, it's easy if you have a home gym. It's easy if you have this. Well, again, I didn't start with this, and I am sure that at certain points in your life, it wasn't as easy as what everybody wants it to be now. I mean, you got to put work and effort, and that's things that you can control. You can control your attitude, and you can control your work ethic, and those are very important. Very important.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because I saw somebody, I don't remember, was posting about, I don't recall who it was, but about quarantine type of workouts, and said, "What's the biggest problem you're facing?" You know what the number one answer was?
What's that?
Lack of motivation. So,
Sure.
go using the gym for motivation. So, at least people answering are being honest with themselves. So that's a good start. But I think at that point, you got to look internal. Or why are you doing this? Is it because you have an internal drive to get better, or are you just going to the gym so you can, for whatever reason? So I think, like you said, it just comes back to you didn't start at this point in your life. I mean, it wasn't like you were given this house with this gym and walk out. But I mean, usually that doesn't typically, when somebody is second, third generation of wealth and given a lot of things, they usually are a failure compared to their father, just because they didn't have to work for it.
Sure. Yeah, you gotta control that. And like you said, maybe you need to sit down. Maybe this is an important time for somebody like that to figure out their why. Why are you doing this? Why are you going after that? Like, take a hard look in the mirror and decide, write that down. Why are you doing it? What's your motivation? And if you're lacking motivation, then maybe you need to look back at that and say, why are you doing it? Why did you start in the first place? That type of thing. And, motivation is that's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
And how to stay motivated, how to get motivated, at the end of the day, sometimes, again, it's just going to come down to your attitude and your work ethic and putting that in. And it at times will not be easy. And I think that sometimes people don't necessarily want to hear that it's not going to be easy, and you're going to have to work hard, and you're going to have to sacrifice different things to be better, for me, that's never been a question, right? From even when I was younger, going back to the basketball stuff, when I was getting up, I mean, how many seventh graders are going to get out of bed at 5 a.m. and go do that during the middle of winter? That was never a question for me, I guess. It just was like, I'm doing this to get better because I want to improve myself, and I'm going to do what I have to do to make it happen. And, it's just something, you got to find it within yourself. If you don't have the fire inside of you to do it, then, nobody else is going to make that happen for you.
It's like, what a thing if, when you have a why, that, the how appears, and, when the student is ready, the master appears type of thing. It's just stuff, magic's going to happen when you have the right attitude and the right why, for sure.
100%.
So what about, let me ask you this about your nutrition now. What's a day of eating, just kind of changing the subject before we get off here. What's a day eating look like for you right now? Because I know you said you hadn't been quite as strict on your diet, the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah. The diet I've always kind of said is the hardest part for me. I mean, I love the training. I love all that, but the eating can be a challenge. It really can be a challenge. And I work with a guy by the name of Nathan Payton, and he's helped me out for.
Oh, I don't know him well. He's in Houston, right?
Yes, Texas. Yep.
I know of him. I know he has a good reputation around here. People like him.
Yeah. So we've been working on it. I mean, we were kind of getting into the second and then third phase of my diet leading up to World's Strongest Man. And so we kind of put a halt on that a little bit. But for the most part, my diet is pretty straightforward. Eggs, a lot of red meat. Typically we'll throw in a couple different, with certain meals, he'll give me an option. So I can throw in some salmon or some chicken or, something like that based on the training time. So I'll eat a little bit different before training, we've been using sweet potato fries and some more rice. He's got it dialed in for me for the most part. I mean, he kind of has figured out over the years what I respond to well. And typically we move forward, but I would say the best way to say it is that I eat into the contest. So, phase 1 is maybe not quite as much, and then we'll bump the calories up and bump the carbs up. And then leading up to it, I'm eating the most.
That's nice. That's like, you got some, I think psychologically, beyond the physiological part, you have some momentum going that way. Because I've never done like a major weight cut or anything for powerlifting, but I know like small ones, it's nice just to be eating and feeling good going in rather than like cutting calories.
I can't imagine. I mean, because even in Strongman, there's the guys that compete in the 231 class, so 105 kilo. Yeah. And some of those guys will cut down from like 250 or 260. But I'm like, I've never understood how that could work, because you're eating so well during your training, and then you start this cut to come in and trying to be strong. It's granted, I can't say personally, because I've always just ate bigger going into the contest, but I think that too big of a weight cut, I've kind of told guys that have trained with me, in my opinion, it'd be much better to walk around at like 235 with the best body composition you possibly could. And then, you do a little bit of cut or cut a little bit of water or something, but basically still eat into the contest, But I'm thankful, because I don't think I would do very well with that. I'll be honest. I'm cutting weight going into a contest. I don't think I would ever feel like I was at my strongest.
Do you know how many calories you're eating a day, or is it just kind of off of food portion?
I couldn't say exactly, but I get up to around 10,000 a day. When we're getting into World's Strongest Man, if we throw in a little bit more cheat food, it might be above 10,000, 11, maybe 12 at the most. But I would say right now I'm probably around 8.
Okay. And how are you? Pretty? I mean, so you're prepping all your meals and stuff too, and all that. It's not like.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I work with a company called Trifecta.
Okay.
And they sell meat by the pound, basically. So they ship me a whole bunch of bison. The bison burger is probably my favorite that they make. But they then do all the other stuff that I would need: the chicken, the salmon. So I'm very thankful because I don't have to prep with them. It just shows up, and especially even right now, gosh, like I can eliminate a lot of my store trips for the most part. The eggs, I think, I always like to cook my eggs fresh. So I do that every day, but that's been the hardest thing for me to get has been the eggs. But I'm thankful to work with them, and they basically ship me everything I need, which is, a huge help because there's been points in time where just for eating, I've been upwards of like $3,000 a month in food. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So for them to ship me all of that,
and that's like home cooked food too. It's not like you're going to a restaurant and having, 7 Long Island iced teas and a $100 steak. That's crazy amounts of food.
If I'm on the road and I have to, and again, when I go on the road, I'll typically pack all my food too, just to stay on track. But if I were to go out to eat, just to get that kind of quantity of meat or steak or whatever would be ridiculous. The amount of money would be crazy. So I'm thankful for them helping me out with that for sure.
And I got one more question for you. So is it difficult for you to kind of switch gears? Because here's the thing. It's like you're obviously your family is your most important thing. You can tell, it's obvious. So you're not an absentee father or something. You're there, and like to switch gears from kind of like, because I know you eat breakfast with your kids and all that kind of stuff. So when do you train, and how are you able to switch gears from like this loving father to like, rage basically?
Good question. That's a good question. Like you said, that's the most important thing. I want to be a good dad. I want to be a good husband, and so I put that very high on my priority list. And so for years, what I've done is trained at night. So I would do all the stuff during the day, try to get all my work done, and then have time where we play. My wife and I play with the boys and read books and do all that kind of stuff, and then go where they go to bed. And then it was typically like 7:30 p.m. at night. I would go off the train, and that started getting very, very hard. So actually, a couple months ago here, I decided and I would do that mainly, if I'm being honest, for the guys that were coming to train with me.
Yeah.
Because they all had to go to work, and some of them had families as well. And so they couldn't come during the day. I always wanted to kind of train midday if I could, because then I could do all my training. I could eat more after training to recover better. But for years, that's been my setup. And that was just kind of a sacrifice that I had to make it all work and to be there. And so and this is before all this kind of pandemic stuff happened, but I decided that I told the guys during the week, hey, look, this is getting to be too much. I'm burning the candle at both ends, because I would train too late at night. Then it was hard for me to go to bed, get enough sleep, get up in the morning, because then I wanted to get up in the morning to do breakfast and all that. And so I wouldn't sleep enough, and then I wouldn't recover as well.
Yeah.
And so it started turning into a vicious cycle of just feeling like I wasn't doing good enough, even though I was trying to do good enough with being a dad and then training, and I was just beating myself up. And so I let them know that I was going to start training during the day in order to make that happen better. So at night I could spend more time, be there for bedtime. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And it's been going so far so good. Now our boys are home. They typically were going to a daycare during the day.
Yeah.
My wife and I could handle all the business stuff here, but they're staying home. So we're trying to manage it now. I'm still training earlier in the day so I can sleep better at night. But it's a tough one, man. I was flipping that switch was hard. It was very hard at night. Like you'd go and we'd be doing bedtime and you're reading books and trying to calm them down to get them to sleep. And then immediately I've got to flip the switch to go out and,
dude,
a huge weight or squat a huge weight.
I couldn't believe it when I'd heard you trained at 7:30 on that Mark Bell thing. I rewound it. Is that what? Night? Because I don't know how you get to sleep, because you're so even if you try to like approach it like a monk or something, just lifting that kind of weight, you're going to excite your central nervous system.
It was too much, man. I just, like I said, I finally had to make that call earlier this year, but my whole career, that's basically what I've done. Even before we had boys, I would do it, like I said, because the guys that would come train with me could only come at night. I mean, if I'm being honest, I always just didn't like it because I knew that if I could eat more after training, it would be better and my sleep would be better. So it's just been one of those things that I've done and had to do. I feel like, and now I've actually been feeling better because I'm sleeping better. I'm not as hyped up right before.
And that's probably helped with your improvement. I mean, obviously, I'd like to say it's all the training, but obviously the sleep is big time in the body composition, huh?
I think so. I'm definitely feeling better, and so I'm planning on continuing that now. Through and in all honesty, I think it actually changing the training time is going to make me a better dad too.
Yeah.
As well as improving because if I'm being honest with myself, even when we would do bedtime, I was always kind of in the back of my head like, man, we've got to hurry up here because I need to go out and train and I need to do this. And, if it's
how
like.
How much Dr. Seuss you need? I got a deadlift. Come on.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's tough. So I would always kind of have that. Now I'm much more relaxed and
for sure.
It takes a few extra minutes for bedtime. I'm not worried about it. It's like, hey, we got it, no problem. I've already trained. I've already got done what I need to get done. And so I think it's going to be a really positive change for me overall in my whole life. It's just laying out everything. I'll be more productive and recover better and sleep better. And so I'm really excited about it. And like I said, I'm only now a short time into changing that, but I can think. I mean, I'm seeing it already. I feel better. I'm sleeping much better. So overall, I think it's going to be really good.
Cool. So anything else you want to sign off with here before we sign off?
No, not really, man. I appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to, what we can do together. Yeah. And this is, in all honesty, other than like the advice that I got from guys like Joe Ken and other strongmen, this is the first time I've actually worked with anybody from a programming standpoint in my whole career. So, I'm really excited about what we can do and what you can throw at me to challenge me with and what kind of improvements I can make. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm excited too. And, it's just last thing to say is you're also very smart guy too, because you're certified CSCS, right? Yeah. It's funny, saying that when I first started talking to you about, I was like, I always talk, try not to like keep things where everybody's understanding because I didn't know that at the time. And then it's like, okay, I'm starting to get a little more complicated and you're totally getting what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, cool. So
sure.
That's awesome.
Speak the same language a little bit.
Same language, more, exactly. Yeah. So cool. Well, have a good day, Brian. Have a good weekend. And I appreciate it.
Sounds good, Josh. I appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.